All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Geek Garage podcast. I am your host, David Dassaw. Joined with me, as per usual, is my good buddy Ted White. How are you doing, good sir?
Um, every day is a journey, man. Every day is a journey.
Uh, you could say that. I mean, at the very least, or if you want to look at it in a positive light. I mean, hey, that seems a little bit more positive than the last time, where you were like, "Ah, David, I'm a sad sack of shit." Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, at least you are alive and well, and you don't have the Rona.
That's
Not
true. Every
not that
day
I know
above the
of.
dirt without the Rona
Yes.
is a good
Right.
day.
Yeah. You're not pushing up daisies ass first with a place to park my bike. So that's great because I still need a co-host to help me run this shit. And speaking of run this shit, we are today going to talk about the DC FanDome. I think it's pronounced FanDome.
Yeah,
FanDome.
it's a bad name. It was a
E-
good presentation though.
it was with lots of cool content. But yes, the DC FanDome 2020, the inaugural.
David,
I
you gotta
guess.
you gotta put some bass in your voice when you say it. The fandom. All right, you gotta get like
Okay, well,
the
I'm not a.
reverb, you
Is
know.
that what they call a baritone? The deep
Uh
voice.
yeah, I was actually just trying to do one of those impersonations of like the monster truck guy.
Sunday, Sunday,
Right.
Sunday.
Yeah.
The DC FanDome 2020.
Detective Comic, something like that.
Yeah. No, well, now that I fucked up my throat, this is a perfect time to pass it to you. But yeah, we're going to dive into all the shit that DC announced this past Saturday. That is coming up in the next weeks, months, years, etc. And we're very excited to talk about it. But before we get into all that, Ted, take it away with the necessary info. We got to get out of the way first.
All right. Well, first, this was launched just a few weeks ago. Geek Garage Creations. It is found on our website. Very easy to get to. Just geekgaragepodcast.com/shop. We have a few T-shirt designs, but it's primarily right now just a ridiculous amount of stickers, like an
Yes,
almost offensive amount of stickers.
it really
Like
is.
it's crazy. It's like Lisa Frank for men. but we don't discriminate, so like everybody can have them. It doesn't matter.
All right,
Uh,
I move a motion to change the shop name from Geek Garage Creations to Lisa Frank for Men.
okay, well we're almost certainly going to get sued for that, but sure, let's do it. Fuck
All
it, you
right.
only live once. Uh, merchandising in the time of Rona. Yeah, but check it out. It's geekgaragepodcast.com/shop. There's a lot of different designs on there, all based around different like properties and popular geekdom. So check it out. We have been not hard at work exactly, but working diligently. No, it's something that we did a couple of times called Comic Corner that we'll probably get back to eventually. We do
Yes.
have 2 issues released so far. The first one from Mr. David over the Batman Nightfall arc that he
Mhm.
read. It's a combo review slash his thoughts on it, and then over the Punisher Max that I did as well. We do have some more on the way, so we will get back to it probably eventually. So if you're into comic books, you can find that on the website geekgaragepodcast.com as well. There is no nifty slash word to find it. You just have to
Right.
dig for it like the peasants you are. Speaking of websites and other social media, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The best way to stay up to date with the podcast and interact with us is, of course, through our Facebook group, the Geek Garage Podcast fans and listeners. We have weekly polls and other nerdy conversations where you can make fun of other people for their bad opinions, but try and keep it, somewhat friendly. Unless it's a really bad opinion, then you can, nuke them from orbit.
Right. If they say something like Suicide Squad by fucking
David
what
Ayer.
was the David Ayer, yeah, it was it's not his fault, but we'll say it's
You're gonna
Warner
get the
Brothers
blame for
fault.
it though, just out of
Right.
convenience.
Right. But if you say something like that was the best movie of all time, then like you can digitally throat punch that person.
Yes.
So
And you could also physically throw a punch that person probably and get away with it. No jury would convict you. We don't condone violence, though.
yeah.
Moving right along, you can find that by following the link in our description if you would like to join the group. It's free. It is
Yes.
free. and encouraged. What's not free, however, is our Patreon. We demand, tribute. We don't demand it. We request it humbly. We would like to thank all of our current subs, of course, as well as our newest sub, an old friend, one of mine and David's oldest friends, in fact, both in age, you old fuck, and also just in time, in length of time we've known this person. And that is Mr. Jeff Breedwell. He has always been supportive of everything we've done, and now it's official because he's giving us money for it. So he can't, no takebacks, Jeff. I'm sorry, you're locked in, lifetime contract. That's how it goes. But thank you, of course, to him and all of our other subscribers. We appreciate that a lot because, you could spend your money on anything and it would be better than this. And yet, you're spending it on this. So something's wrong with you, but we appreciate it. We are still running that promo for the month of August, where you will get a custom-made sticker and a t-shirt along with all the normal perks if you sign up. We do have 2 tiers, I believe, a $2 a month tier and a $5 a month tier. They both come with different things, but you can find out more about that, on the website, which once again is geekgaragepodcast.com. I'm going to plug that at least 2 more times before I turn it back over to David. Again, like with the Facebook page, you can find out more info by following the link in our podcast description. Finally, speaking of podcasts and subscribers, you can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts if you would like to support the show in ways that don't cost you any money, just your pride. We do not accept anything less than a 5-star review. So if you leave us a 4-star review or worse, we will find you, and David will shit on your porch.
Yes, not even in a place where it will decompose properly. You'll have to pick it up with like your bare hands or a bag. Just like you would with your puppy out on a walk. Except it will be much large. I'll make sure that I ate lots and lots of fiber the day before.
All fiber.
Right? Just all fiber and meats. Lots and lots of red meats. So it will come out like it might get on your front door too.
Yeah, it'll be bad. So 5 stars.
Yeah, this is a great time to mention that, like, we hope no kids listen to this, and if you are letting your kids listen to this, you're a more fun parent than I am, I guess.
Well, sure. Also, if you're listening to this, you've made some terrible life decisions. But thank you. We
do
can't
appreciate
help you in any way that will make your life better, but we can make it not worse, which is almost as good.
That is for damn certain.
Yes. So, David, that's all of my spiel, geekgaragepodcast.com. I'm turning it back over to you now.
Yeah, we're going to kick this thing into high gear and play that funky music, White Boy, right? That's how it goes. All right.
Hey everybody, Ted here. Just wanted to jump in and have a quick aside. You'll notice in listening to this episode that David and I neglected to talk about Wonder Woman 84, which of course was a big part of the FanDome event. That was not an intentional thing on our part, that was just an oversight. Basically, we're fucking idiots. We had all of our notes together about the event and what we wanted to talk about, including our thoughts and reactions on the Wonder Woman 84 trailer, which, like I said again, was a pretty big part of the event. Then, once we started recording, we started skipping around in the notes based on what we felt like talking about at the time versus what order they were in the show notes. Unfortunately, we accidentally skipped over the section on Wonder Woman. Like I said, we're both very excited. We liked the trailer a lot, and we're excited to see the movie. That said, I think we did cover everything else, but probably not because, again, morons. So hopefully, the rest of the episode is great. Here we go.
All right, so like I said in the intro, we are going to be discussing DC's inaugural FanDome 2020. Echo. That's how it is.
Yes.
So before we get into the items, the cool shit that was revealed at the DC FanDome 2020, we're going to discuss real quick our Facebook poll from this past week. And it was kind of released right after the Batman trailer was released, and we'll find a way to kind of segue from this poll into our talking points. So it'll be a perfect segue. But yeah, we asked, out of all the awesome upcoming DC stuff that was revealed, what are you looking forward to the most? And your choices were Matt Reeves' The Batman or others slash wrong opinion.
Yes.
Those were the only choices.
Mhm.
And there was no way to add your own choice to the poll, and you could not select more than one. Um, Most people picked the right choice,
Which is
thankfully,
Batman.
which
Yeah.
is Batman. We did have a couple people choose others slash wrong opinion. I'm not going to call them out by name because I don't want to embarrass them any further than they have already embarrassed themselves. Um, well, I can't believe that actually came out of my mouth. That was so mean. Typically, we're not this mean with our
David,
polls.
you
Like,
catty bitch.
right? Like, typically, we keep it pretty civil with the polls, and like, we let like our fans and listeners on the Facebook group, like, we let them like be catty and I don't know, snide, I guess.
Hmm.
So typically, we don't phrase our polls and structure them in a way that makes them sound like they have a wrong, incorrect opinion if they don't choose the thing that we love the most. But yeah, we did have quite a few comments by well, they were lengthy comments by a couple different people, and they were all great points, and we're going to get to those later on. Yeah, Ted, you want to use this as an opportunity to segue into the shit that was released by DC?
Yes. I think we should. That's what we've been hyping up as the point of the episode. So we should
Right.
probably get to that.
Wouldn't it be funny if we just ended up talking about something else
Yes.
completely?
Jokes on you, motherfuckers. We're here to relitigate Avengers Endgame.
Oh my god. I would just dive out my fucking office window, just yeet myself into the sun, because that's what I'd rather do, as opposed to relive the events of Avengers Endgame episode. Um,
It was not a highlight. I'll put it that way.
it was not good, sir.
Speaking of highlights, that's called a segue. There were a lot of them from the DC FanDome event.
Indeed,
See, we had a plan for that the whole time.
we did.
I think the first of which we should cover is the Gotham Knights game.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah. So Warner Brothers Games Montreal, I believe, is the game developers. Um, this is their new open world title. I think out of all the things that DC announced, this has been the longest awaited, if that makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
they've been teasing this for a really long time. Apparently, since
Well,
I
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, since I'm, as we've discussed many times, I'm a more casual gamer, so I don't have my what do they say, the thumb on the pulse of the gaming industry and all its new releases and stuff. So I didn't really know that this was a thing in the works for like several years now, but it makes sense because the game looks awesome as fuck, and it looks like they've been working really hard on it. Um,
Right.
but yeah, Ted, what are your thoughts?
So I don't know if they have been like hinting at it. Kind of like you, I don't really keep my thumb on the pulse, so to speak. Um, I know that the first four Arkham games, I think are all really good to varying degrees.
Hmm.
Arkham Origins is kind of looked down as basically like almost like a DLC kind of, because it's just like, hey, let's take the Arkham City map and then change the story and nobody will notice. But everybody did. I still liked it a lot just because I'm a huge Batman fan, but definitely excited for this one. Like I said, the last Arkham games were all great in their own ways. So interested in this one. One of the things that kind of struck me was that Batman's not in it. He's not playable. I guess he's dead. I think is kind of what they're leaning towards. I didn't see
Yeah,
the whole reveal for it, so I'm not 100%. David, can you like touch on that?
yeah. That is so the trailer that I watched, it, which is of course the main one that is available out there. It kind of opens up with the cinematic stuff. And I believe it's like 3 or 4 minutes of that, and then it just like seamlessly segues into actual gameplay for the game, which I thought was a really cool way to cut the I guess quote unquote trailer like as a whole. But yeah, when it first opens up and you get the cinematic kind of stuff, it is kind of announced like as an announcement almost by like the news or something like, oh, Batman's dead or something like that. And so you see like you see Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood all like suiting up to basically take up the collective mantle of,
Mm.
Gotham's hero vigilante, basically. Um, so yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's cool. I'm kind of interested in what continuity this takes place, or if they're kind of, I guess, retconning it. Because if memory serves, at the end of Arkham Knight, which was, I think it was Arkham Knight was the last one that was put out, he doesn't die. He just kind of like beats everybody and retires.
hmm,
So I'm interested. Maybe he was just like, you know what, fuck it. Without Batman, I'm no one, and took a header off the bridge. There's no fucking way. But maybe. But no, I'm definitely stoked that like Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood are all in it because they're all great characters. And um, Red Hood was in one of the last games, and Robin and Nightwing have been in and out of them. I don't recall Batgirl ever being. I know Oracle was in one or two of the games, but as far as like the character of Batgirl pre-Oracle, I don't recall her being in it. So that's cool.
okay.
Um, but yeah, I'm stoked for it. Batman is dope. I don't know what else you want me to say.
No, you are in fact correct. The fact that it has its traditional single player plus a two-player online co-op play, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be able to play Batman with Ted and like across the interwebs, like it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah,
So yeah, I was. When I saw that along with the other details of the game, I was really excited.
it's gonna
Um,
be good. I'm excited.
yeah, for sure. And I believe that is set to come out sometime in 2021, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the current sort of release. I don't know that they've at least announced a more set release date, but I think 2021 is kind of the you know
Yeah. Yeah, on IGN it says Gotham Knights is set to release in 2021 for PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4. Wow, okay. And Xbox One and PC. Cool. So got all the bases covered. So if you are not first in line to get a PS5, you
you
are
still have your
set.
shot. That's cool.
So yeah, that's awesome. Second, or next up, we got a very much requested
Yes, somewhat
fan,
controversial.
right? The Justice League Snyder Cut. This has been something that apparently has been asked for basically since Justice League was initially released in theaters, and
Yeah. Um, this one's tough because I believe Mac, friend of the show, had posted on our Facebook page when this was kind of first being rumored to actually exist and possibly be released that it'll be like the rest of Snyder's movies. It will look really good, but not actually be that good,
right.
or something to that effect. Which I was like, "Yep, I definitely agree with that." I think style over substance is a very fair critique of him. That said, I'm not sure how they're going to turn the disaster that was the Justice League, as it's being christened online.
Is that what they call
Yeah, the Justice League, which I think
Justice?
because there is
Joss.
like I could count on one hand the number of people in Hollywood or in movies or what have you that I hate more than Joss Whedon. Like it's that bad. But that's
Wow.
another discussion for another time. We're keeping it positive today.
Sure.
I just can't imagine how much different it's going to be. I know how different it's been said to be, if that makes sense. So, like, I know that Zack
Right.
Snyder has come out and said a lot of things about how it's going to be very different. Various people that have been involved in different capacities have said that his vision is very different than what was released. Um, so I'm not just going to shit on it and say it's going to be terrible because the original cut or what have you that they released was terrible. But that said, it's just like I feel like in a lot of ways Snyder was not the person to really helm this, and I understand that he had a lot of great ideas, but I think in some other ways he sort of missed the points of some of these characters and like the hope that is inherent in something like the Justice League.
Hmm.
Because it's just that like super dark tone. And that works really well for like the Batman scenes in Batman versus Superman. Those are really good, but it's like to me, like Superman and Wonder Woman and the Justice League writ large are like again, it's a hopeful thing. So like I don't want grim dark Justice League personally.
Right.
Other people can want that, and that's fine. But to me, it's antithetical to like the premise of the Justice League itself.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like they might have backed themselves into a corner with this because like they started out with having Zack Snyder as the director for Man of Steel, and then he did Batman versus Superman, and so I guess he was just the logical recipient
Sure.
for the initial director of the Justice League, so, to just continue that the themes and the continuity of
Mhm.
everything that had been established. So that all makes sense.
Yeah, and I
But
think there's something to be said letting someone have a sort of singular vision
sure,
to a storyline. I think that makes sense. Whereas,
for sure.
like one of my biggest critiques and problems with the MCU has always been like it's so tonally off. It's all over the place because you have all these different people injecting different things into it, which is fine. Like I think that most of the movies are kind of boring, but like I understand everybody's got their own vision or what have you that they want to do. So
Right.
in some ways that makes sense, but like in terms of an overall like overarching story, I think it suffers a little bit because of that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I am still really excited that they decided to release it. That Zack Snyder was able to kind of get in there, and recut the movie. And I don't know if any refilming or filming of extra scenes was done, but either way, like I'm really excited that he was able to get in there and get this done. I know that there's a lot of people out there that have been asking for it, so it will definitely be well received for the most part. I feel
Yeah,
like.
I'm definitely happy for the people that in good faith asked for it, and I think there were
Mhm.
a lot of those. I know there were a couple of different campaigns where they ended up collecting a lot of money on behalf of like suicide prevention charities because, of course,
For sure.
Snyder had to step down because his daughter unfortunately took her life, and
Mhm.
I think that's definitely a good thing. And like I said, there were a couple of different campaigns by the quote unquote release the Snyder Cut hashtag group or what have you that put those together. So I think that's definitely a good thing. And again, for the people that had good reason or good faith arguments for wanting to see it, I'm glad that their sort of grassroots campaign worked.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think it's uh, a great idea to release it as a four-part series on HBO, or HBO Max, which is what it's set to release on sometime in 2021. I think maybe next spring or so. Uh, but yeah, and apparently this is not the only thing DC related coming to HBO Max. We have something else. I guess this is a pretty decent way to segue into kind of. It wasn't announced at the DC FanDome, but it was elaborated on that the Gotham PD series is like they were like, yeah, it's still a thing, and I'm not exactly sure what all they said about it, that they hadn't already, other than like it's basically going to be year one,
Right.
and Matt Reeves, and I think he was in a panel with a couple other people, but they were basically saying they didn't state Jim Gordon specifically or explicitly, but he said like a cop or detective or an officer. It's his up and coming, um, yeah, like his his evolution through the force and dealing with the mob and these otherworldly villains, and um, I mean, if I felt like all signs just pointed to Jim Gordon, because
Yeah,
if
that sounds a
if
lot like the year one storyline.
right, yeah, when I read the, I guess, the transcript or whatever from what Matt Reeves said in the panel, it it coming from someone who read year one not too long ago, it sounded exactly like the basis of year one, where it's not even really a Batman book slash story. It's more of like the story of Jim Gordon arriving in Gotham and realizing that there's not only a really bad mob mafia situation, but there's all these corrupt cops. So yeah, I am super excited about this series. I don't think there's really a whole lot of details, especially about its release and who's going to be in it. I think there's some speculation that a lot of the quote unquote villains or bad guys from the Batman will be in it. Ted, what do you think? I know that this is. We were texting earlier today, and I was like, "Have you fucking heard about this Gotham PD shit?" And you were like, "No, new news to me." Um,
Yeah, I had not, or if I had heard about it, I'd completely forgotten about it. I don't know. I'm tentatively interested in it, I guess. I really really liked the year one story. I think it holds up really well, especially when compared to a lot of other sort of early Batman stories.
mhm.
So I'm tentatively interested in it. It's just like it seems like we just finished with Gotham, though. You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah,
I understand that's going to be a different sort of take than that show was, but it's like, okay, we're kind of maybe let's reel it in a little bit.
sure. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they will have some sort of different take than Gotham because that's pretty much the exact same thought that I initially had when I read that earlier today. Was like, didn't this just happen? Like, I mean, I
Right.
didn't watch any of Gotham, uh, but I was like, it seems like kind of the premise where it's not, it doesn't revolve around Batman. It revolves around, you know, the other villains and young Bruce Wayne and all this other shit. So, but who knows? It could end up being awesome. So,
Yeah. Like I said, I'm tentatively, um, pensively excited for it. I guess
yeah, yeah, same.
we should have done this back to back with Gotham Knights since it's also a video game. But there's another one coming out called Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. It's made by Rocksteady Studios, who definitely is the team behind the Arkham City and Arkham Knight games, which fucking ruled. And from everything that I can see, this is going to be that same style, same sort of style, featuring a lot of the uh, more well-known characters, I guess, from the Suicide Squad, like Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, and King Shark, who is underrated, and I will die on that hill.
Right.
It looks like a lot of fun. Like I said, if it's that same kind of style, it's going to be dope because those games are a ton of fun, and I highly encourage you to go back and find them. You can probably find the Arkham Knight, Arkham City, Arkham Asylum games for super cheap now because they've been out for a while.
Right. Yeah, you could probably pick them up for like less than $10 or so. Um,
Um, I saw Arkham Knight actually was on sale recently. I just kind of randomly saw it on like PlayStation Network. It was on sale. I can't remember for how much though. So
okay.
you can probably find them all for pretty cheap used.
Right. Yeah. No, I I was reading a little bit about Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and basically it seems like the premise is that the Justice League is being mind controlled by someone or something, and so they have to quote unquote kill the Justice League. But it looks, I don't know, it kind of had that look and feel as far as the gameplay goes of like the fun zombie games, like the more lighthearted ones, like
Like a Left 4 Dead sort of game.
right, yeah, Left 4 Dead or Dead Island, where it's like it's not super grim. It's like very bright, vibrant colors. Of course, it is the Suicide Squad, so it's that's kind of like their thing, anyways.
Mm,
But I thought it was cool how you'll be able to. It'll be multiplayer, but if you are just playing first player, you'll be able to switch between like the different characters, um, like ad hoc style, like just on
that's cool.
demand, which I thought was cool. But yeah, speaking of Suicide Squad, we also got the Suicide Squad. I mean, it's not even really a teaser trailer. It basically just a cool stylized video of all the characters. And
Yeah,
it would be easier to tell you which characters are not in this movie because it's a lot.
yeah. You know, I've never been a huge Suicide Squad fan, kind of in general. I think it's a cool concept, but like there's something about it that they kind of rubbed me the wrong way or didn't connect with me. And watching that trailer, I think I realized what it was all this
Okay.
time. They are scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel in terms of like characters. Now, obviously, you've got like Harley Quinn, who's a huge deal, and you know is like a big character. Even Captain Boomerang's kind of a big deal, and like I like King Shark, but man, they were digging fucking deep.
Right. Yeah. Most of the, I mean, like the ones you just named, I had heard of. I couldn't really tell you much about them, but like they just named character after character after character. I'm just like, well, it's cool that like all these people are in the movie, but I don't know who the fuck any of them are.
Yeah,
Um,
like they got Polka Dot Man. I was just like, they got Polka Dot. Like I said, they. Part of me is like James Gunn was just like, oh, what wacky character can I pull into this that you know people can make memes out of? And I don't know that
mhm.
that's what he did, you know, but that's kind of what it seemed like to me, where he's just like, oh, LOL, Polka Dot Man, you know, like the random XD meme, you know.
Right.
Um, you know, I'm kind of holding out judgment. Like, I don't want to just dump on the movie because the last Suicide Squad movie was such dog shit, and
Right.
because I'm not a huge James Gunn fan. But like, I'm kind of holding out that it's going to be decent because I really want DC to put out good movies. Like,
Same, bro.
that would be dope if they could put out a good movie that wasn't called Batman something. That would be awesome.
Right.
Um, you know, but that's not here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hopeful. Like James Gunn was able to juggle movies that had a lot of characters previously. You see the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so um, I'm relatively hopeful that he'll be able to pull it off. I mean, that's a lot of characters to juggle, like that they introduced. Like it's a lot, and
Yeah,
so I'm curious to see how they end up juggling all those characters. Like,
I mean, even with the Guardians, there's only what like the five main, like the main team, so to speak,
right? Yeah,
and then like some tertiary characters. But you're dealing with like 8, 10, maybe. There were like it felt like 40 fucking people in this trailer.
it is a lot. Yeah. Um, it's like I said, it would be easier to tell you which DC characters are not in this movie, but like we said, we could be pleasantly surprised. It would be awesome to get a movie that didn't involve Batman in some form or fashion. And that's not shitting on Batman. That's just us being hopeful for something else out there that's DC related. But yeah, moving on. This one is quick. So they're they didn't really talk too much about the Flash movie. Not a whole lot of info there, I guess, but they did reveal his costume. Looks pretty cool. But yeah, it is still set to feature Ezra Miller as the Flash, like he was featured in Justice League. And I think I don't know if they talked about it at all, but I mean, as far as I know, uh, Ben Affleck is still set to reprise his role as Batman in the movie. I think that's right, Ted. Does that
Yeah,
sound
so they
familiar?
announced that it's going to have both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton portraying Batman. So
That's right. Yeah.
the big the big theory on ye old internet is that they're going to do the Flashpoint paradox or something very similar to that. And
Hmm.
Snyder kind of put some breadcrumbs to that um, in some of the other movies, and there have been some other sort of wink wink nudge nudge sort of references to it,
Right.
like on Twitter or in interviews or whatever. So that's one thing. I'm just excited that we're gonna get Michael Keaton as Batman again because like you know that's
Duh.
just like 7-year-old Ted being stoked about Batman Returns and not really understanding why Batman Returns is like not something that I'm allowed to watch ever again.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited for it. Like I said earlier, we don't really have a whole lot of info on it yet, but I am excited to hear more about it as more details leak. And I guess they're still filming. They're still fucking filming Batman. So yeah. But yeah, moving on, we got our first look at Black Adam featuring Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Um, I don't
Yeah,
know a
it
whole lot
feels like
about
he was
Black Adam.
cast as Black Adam like 10 years ago.
Is that right?
It really no, I mean it really does feel that way because like they announced that he had signed to play Black Adam in an upcoming DC movie seriously like fucking forever ago.
Yeah.
And at one point, I just was like, I guess they're just not going to do that now. Which that sucks because Black Adam's a cool character. And then they were like, the Shazam movie's out. And I was like, okay. And they still haven't announced it. And so now I guess it's official again, which is dope because Black Adam rules. Um, I was not really into the way they went with the Shazam movie. I get it. Like, I understand it. But like,
Does
to
Black
me,
Adam relate to Shazam in some form or fashion?
yeah, he's like a Shazam villain, basically. He's
Okay.
a lot of the DC is like a lot of DC is like a lot of Marvel, where it's like not necessarily just one. Like a villain is not necessarily tied to just one character
Right.
or like one hero. But yeah, Black Adam rules. Look into Black Adam. He's dope. Um, so I'm kind of curious how they go with this. Like, is he going to be a Shazam villain? Is he going to be this or that? But
I
um,
was just reading the 1,000 foot synopsis that they threw up there. I think it was on IGN. They basically spun it as him as a anti-hero. So basically,
I think that's fair. Yeah.
yeah, they made it look like he's going to be, or sound like he's going to be, the anti-hero, um, quote unquote hero of the movie. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, I might have to pick up some Black Adam comic books and read up on it. So yeah, and they had a little bit of an update on the Sandman Netflix series, as in they are still doing it. Apparently, it has been just like so many other things out there. Production has been pushed back because of COVID. Um, but they did say that they're still planning on doing it. They don't really have any hard release dates or any other fine details. I don't know. Ted, do you know much about Sandman?
Yeah, I mean, Sandman is a pretty beloved book from Neil
Yeah.
Gaiman. Um,
Okay.
it's it's kind of heady, like a lot of his stuff is. So like, if
Sure.
it's not like you can go from if you read it, don't expect it to be like a just like a cape book. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a Superman book or a Batman book for even really for that matter. It's good though. I definitely encourage it. But like, if you're into Neil Gaiman stuff, you'll definitely be into Sandman. To
Okay.
me, it's some of the best stuff he ever wrote. And it's I'm interested how they're going to do the series because like in reading it, I was like they could never film this. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like Watchmen in that sense, where it's like this would make a really good movie that nobody could ever competently make.
Sure.
And I feel like Sandman as a series is probably the better choice than trying to cram, I don't remember how many issues it is off the top of my head, but however many story arcs into a 2 hour movie that you could.
Right.
So I'm definitely interested in it, and I hope it's good. Um, but I would not be surprised if it's just kind of okay, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely makes sense. I mean, I'm excited for it. This might be another book that I'll have to pick up in preparation for it. So,
It's super goth,
oh yeah,
goth as shit.
I'm all about it then.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hella goth.
Yeah. Do you remember when it was released by chance, off the top of your head?
No, but I want to say probably like the late '80s or the early '90s.
Okay, that's kind of what I had in my head, just with Neil Gaiman. But yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out. The more DC stuff, the better.
Well, I'm gonna actually you right here because I think it was a Vertigo book, but that's not here
Oh, well, I'll just go fuck myself then.
or there. DC also announced the revival of Milestone Media, or at least it was Milestone Media when I remember. I think they're calling it Milestone Comics now, but I could be wrong. As well as a Static Shock movie. So, for those of you that are unaware, Milestone Comics was a uh, not necessarily like a sub imprint of DC, but they were distributed by DC, and it was essentially just like a group of African American artists and writers that came together and were like, "Hey, there's no black superheroes really." Or there's not enough of them. Like, we don't have a lot of representation within superhero books, so they created a lot of um, minority characters, basically. Static Shock is probably the most well known of those. There was actually a Static Shock cartoon that ran for a while on, I think, WB.
Mm.
That would make sense because they own DC, but I think it was on the WB network. For those of you that are old like me and remember that, it was a good show, and Static Shock was a good character. So I'm definitely stoked that he's getting a movie as well as they're bringing this back, so that an underrepresented field of fans can point to something and be like, oh, cool, a
Yeah,
character that's like me. That's always a good thing. Representation is always a good thing.
for sure. And that brings us to our last, but most definitely not least, reveal of DC FanDome 2020. Uh, we got Matt Reeves, the Batman, our very first trailer.
Hmm.
Ted, on a scale of 9 to 10, how fucking excited were you after watching this trailer?
Like 2000. I think I've
Uh,
watched that trailer like 15 times.
oh no, I 100%. I have watched the trailer so many more times.
I actually found somebody that looped a GIF of where he's like just beating the dog shit out of that guy, and I just saved it to my phone so that anytime I'm feeling blue, I can just look at that and be like, ah.
Oh my, like the sound design and the equalization in that last part where he just beats the ever living bejesus out of that dude. And it's just like boom boom boom, like just quick hits. I was like, "Oh my god."
I like that you mentioned the sound design, and I like that they sound like physical hits.
Oh yeah.
Like, it reminded me a lot of like Raging Bull or Fight Club, where it's like that like, well, I don't know if I'll be able to do it and you hear it on the podcast, but like that, you know what I mean? Where like
Right, yeah.
it's got that, like, it sounds like hitting meat. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, which is exactly what David Fincher and company did to when they filmed Fight Club. Like instead of going, or instead of like asking the sound designers to grab like the built-in Foley effects or whatever, they actually went down into like a basement with like big slabs of meat, and they had people punch it to imitate sounds of like you know actual faces and body parts getting hit.
yeah, and so I'm into that. I am, like I said earlier, and like I've said 100 times, like, I'm a huge Batman geek, and I'm always in for like a super dark Batman story.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like a lot of the Batman stories where he's with the Justice League and like he's got all the plot armor and he's just
Mhm.
like unstoppable. It's cool because it's like, yeah, Batman rules, but at the same time, it's like I would much rather have the dude who's like clearly got some hardcore psychopathy and like basically goes out and beats junkies half to death every
Right.
night. And I know that makes me like a fascist, and I'm kind of okay with it. I'm just going to be honest.
Nah, I like. I feel like they tried to do this a little bit in Batman. Is it Batman Begins with Christian Bale? Is
Yeah,
that
that was the first one. Yeah,
they tried to do like the beginning of Batman's story, where it's a little bit more gritty, and he wasn't like the total badass that most of us know as Batman. Um, this look as Batman kind of just like what you were mentioning just a second ago. That's that's what I foresee in the future is a pretty gritty and like just a kind of crazy and a little unhinged, like he hasn't yet learned how
yeah,
to reel it in yet and
yeah.
be the Batman. He's just kind of crazy, which I'm
It's just
into.
and I think whether I'm going to hope that they intended this with the trailer, but the one thing that I've always been sort of bothered by is like there's that like famous line, and the animated series was like famous for this, and I could be wrong, but that may have been like where it started with like the "I am vengeance, I am the night." And in this trailer, after he beats the goddamn brakes off this kid, he's just like, they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm vengeance." And I was like, "Yes, that is what vengeance looks like." Like, it's a dude
Right.
who like had his life, what he feels like his life stolen from him, and now he wants revenge, and that's what it should look like. Like, don't give me, as much as I like that like signal of justice sort of like ideal that Batman has represented in a lot of stories, like for Gotham to aspire to.
Hmm.
I would much rather, like I said, I want the like the I want like the mentally damaged,
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna kill you, but you're probably never gonna walk right again. Like, like
Like all those fucking Batman memes.
yeah, right. Like where he's
Like
just like
Batman punches your throat in, now talk.
right. Like because one of my all-time favorite Batman moments is from The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, where he like wrecks, I mean absolutely fucking wrecks this gang member.
Uh-huh.
And the cops bust in like, "You killed him," and he's like, "He's not dead. He's young. Maybe he'll walk again." I was like, "Fuck."
Jesus
But you'll
Christ.
remember and you'll stay scared. And I was like, "Yes, that is the essence of Batman. It's like
Right.
I'm I'm vengeance. I'm the knight. Like he chose that to strike fear." And that's
Mhm.
why like I'm kind of interested in this more so than I would be just like another Batman movie, because they came out, I think it was Matt Reeves came out and he was just like, we wanted to really show that part of it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm always going to be excited for that.
No. So yeah. First of all, I think that everyone. I mean, granted, this is still only the first trailer, so we still have a ways to go until we get our next trailer, and then eventually the movie next October. But from where I'm sitting right now, I think that everyone who was talking shit about Robert Pattinson should eat their fucking words right now. Because it
I
kind
will
of
admit
looks off the chain.
he was not my first choice to
Hmm.
play the new Batman. That said, I'm very excited for his portrayal. I think he's a very good actor.
Yeah.
And I think he will do a great job based on what I've seen. Now, the movie's only like 25% filmed, so I can't
Right.
think
Yeah.
he'll fall off of a cliff, but
Mm.
it looks awesome so far. I'm really interested in Paul I'm actually I'm not
I
great.
think it's Dano.
Dano, who is portraying the Riddler. He is probably most famous for his role in There Will Be Blood. Um,
Right. Yeah.
he played the opposite Daniel Day Lewis and held his own.
Hmm.
So he's got some chops there. He's also been in a couple other movies. Like I think he was in that movie Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. That was Prisoners, right?
Uh, ye- I think so.
Yeah,
I'm not, I never saw it, but I do know what you're talking about.
yeah.
But yeah,
I think that was what it was called.
no, he definitely has the chops to be a villain and to hold his own in this movie. And I'll be honest, like I got fucking chills, and I was kind of scared, like when he was saying his lines in this movie.
Yeah,
Like I was like, I am ready for a fucking horrifying Riddler interpretation.
yeah. There were some heavy Seven vibes.
Yeah, yeah, like the very low to the ground shots, the very dark shots. I mean, just the whole beginning sequence of, taping up this dude is, his whole head is covered in duct tape with like Sharpie or something written on it. And,
Hmm.
we get the intro of, what's his name? Jeffrey Wright?
Yeah,
Is that
Jeffrey
it?
Wright as
As,
Gordon.
yeah, as Jim Gordon. Um, and I don't know. It just like the look of the movie. I'm just in amazement of it. Like I'm just so excited.
Yeah, it looks really good. That said, we did get some pushback. Pushback's maybe too strong of a word, but we did get some
Yep,
feedback, I guess, on the poll.
feedback's a good
Um,
word.
from in particular from Megan Zimmerman. I probably shouldn't have said her whole name.
Yeah,
David, bleep it out.
she's fine.
Okay.
She's fine. She's
Who
cool with it.
she had a very. I think this is a very fair critique that I agree with in a lot of ways. Where she's just kind of like they're beating a dead horse with another Batman movie, where it's like, you know, um, can they make another one that's not just Batman? And I feel like that's again a fair critique because
For sure.
those have basically been the only movies that DC has done, other than like Wonder Woman and Shazam have been successful. But like basically, it's been the Batman show.
Yeah,
I mean, that again, that's a fair critique. That said, I mean, she said she was still excited for this movie because yeah, it looks dope as shit. She did mention some other characters that she would like to see, and I think that we could get behind some of these,
for sure.
like Captain Atom. That would be a deep pull, and Uncle Sam because fuck Nazis. I'm full
Right.
going with that. Phantom Stranger would be cool too. DC's been putting out books for a long time. There are a lot of great characters that they could pull. I mean, from a dollars and cents standpoint, I understand why they keep doing Batman.
Right. I mean, it's
Because he's
basically DC's like flagship
right,
aside from Superman.
right. I mean, like the big three in the Justice League, or even like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that said, again, there are a lot of awesome characters, and I think if Marvel and the MCU have shown us anything, it's that you can take sort of like the quote unquote B characters out of comic books and still make them into successful movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think that that's something that they could look forward or look towards doing, and I would kind of be into it. That said, I don't want another like MCU style thing for the DC universe. That just is like that sounds awful to me. But I think there's a way to bring in characters and sort of make them interesting to the general public and not just to comic book fans.
Right. Yeah. One thing, like kind of broad strokes speaking here, one thing that I'm really interested in seeing going forward is the how they're going to expand the DCEU versus one-offs, because I feel like we keep on getting like each step we take in the DCEU direction moving forward, we get like another one-off. And so I'm kind of curious as to like where their like priorities or allegiances lie, like with Warner Brothers and DC. Like, are they more interested in expanding the DCEU? Are they more interested in doing like one-off movies? Um, it's so that's I feel like when it comes to the battle of the MCU versus DC or DCEU, that's why things usually tilt in Marvel and MCU's favor, because they kind of have that formula that they've established.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean I guess just trying to say I'm curious to see where things go moving forward. You know.
Yeah, I will say this in support of the DC films so far. They all haven't been good, but they've tried different things.
Hmm.
Whereas with Marvel, it's kind of formulaic, to be generous, and sort of overarching into the same story. Whereas DC and Warner Brothers have done some standalone movies like the Joker film, which I think you liked a lot more than I did, but
Hmm.
it was definitely a departure.
Right.
It was different in a lot of ways from your typical comic book movie, um, or at least what most people would recognize as a comic book movie. So that's interesting, and I think that should be applauded, even though they haven't all worked. Like I said,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you got to cut studios some slack, because, like you were saying, you have to, you have to go and make some mistakes. You got to fuck some shit up and make some wrong choices before you can really like catch your footing and know what you're doing going forward. Find a winning formula, or whatever you want to call it. Just know what works more often than doesn't. So, I'm here for the long haul with DC. Like, I have faith that they will, you know, kind of find their footing and start. You know, I don't know what I'm trying to
and if
say.
they don't, we still got what looks to be a really dope Batman movie to look forward to.
Right, we just watch that on repeat, no
Yeah,
problem.
I'm gonna watch that trailer again as soon as we're done recording. I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's, whew, man, it is something else. I'm excited for it. All right, well, I guess we gushed about the Batman for long enough that people are starting to say, like, hey, shut the fuck up. Like, all three of you that are still hanging on by a thread, asking yourself why the fuck you still listen to this podcast. Like Ted said in the intro, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure you join our Facebook group. We are on pretty much all podcast app platforms. We're on all the major ones: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, so many others. And I just actually, Ted, I meant to tell you this earlier, but I um, logged in to our Podbean hosting, and I they asked me if I wanted to get added to Pandora. I was like, sure, why not? Um, and then like I think Apple or not Apple, Amazon is going to start having podcasts on Audible, I believe, and they asked me if I wanted to add our podcast to that as well. It's like, I mean, the more the merrier, I guess.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah. Fuck it.
Right. I mean, it's our job to be as available as possible to all of our potential fans and current fans. So yeah, we're on basically everything. And like we usually say, if there's something that we're not on, please let us know, and we will do our best to rectify the situation. And yeah, as always, be kind, stay geeky, and eat lots of cheesecake. Bye.